Hello, 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 and welcome to Faith in Politics with me, Eileen. We are here on Thursday. What are we? Thursday, December 11th. Oh my gosh, I cannot even believe that we have gone through the year so quickly, but I really wanted to make sure I got on here because I promised our viewers who were online on Tuesday that I was going to come on and deliver this episode. So it will be a very direct episode. So if you have a small business or you know anybody who has a small business and you are interested in getting your DBE certification, this is the live for you. This is episode 40 of Faith in Politics Today, Empowering New Orleans. We are here and we're going to give you information to apply for your SLDBE certification. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Before I jump into that, I just want to get some back office business taken care of. To let you know that the book is, of course, always available on Amazon. You can buy it directly from me, and I do also do bulk orders. So if you have a group, I know I was talking to a teacher and she's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had this when I was, working with, history with my civics class. So it's a great book. I do mock lections with like small groups of youth as well. And so if you're interested in any type of outreach, civic engagement, government 101 or anything like that, please contact me. You can give me an email or ring, I was about to say, at Faith in Politics Today 504 at gmail.com. That is Faith in Politics Today. Get it? Faith in Politics Today 504 at gmail.com. So you can reach me there if you want to connect. I do strategic development and I have a consulting firm. So if your business needs some growth, let me know. It's crazy because I'm sitting here talking about the DB certification. And so just to give you a little history, I worked at the Louisiana Minority Supplier Development Council from 2010 to 2012. And I did their outreach on the MBE side, but on the MBEC side, which is the Minority Business Enterprise Center, I worked for the MBEC and I did business development. And so I connected small businesses or relatively small businesses to a large corporation. So I did that for 2 years. When my grant program ended and I left, I started my own business kind of doing the same thing, doing MBE certification. So it's crazy how this came up because we were talking about economic development on the last show, on Tuesday's show. And so, some people might not understand why business development is so near and dear to my heart. And so I come from a family of entrepreneurs. We all own our own small businesses. I grew up, working in my parents' small businesses. So it's just been like a thing. So making sure that businesses know how to navigate New Orleans scene is really something important. And so when we were on live and they had a couple people asking me questions about the DB program, I was like, you know what? Thursday, that's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the DBE program and how you can get your certification. So when I was at the Louisiana Minority Supplier Development Council, which is now the Southern Regional. So if you're looking for it now, that doesn't exist. It's the SRMBE now. The states have combined and they're the Southern Regional. But long story short, they deliver your MBE certification, which is a certification for you to do business with corporations. Now, your DBE is the certification that you're going to need to do business with your government agencies, your city, your state, and things of that nature. And so that's where your certifications will change. And maybe you'll hear about the WBE certification. That's your women-owned business. And so those are the three different type of certifications that you can get. And so I really do encourage that if you are a small business and looking to grow, it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's an insurance policy. You never know you need it, because if there is a contract that comes up, or having your name already in the system and already being certified is step one. You're already ahead of the game, where many people may not have already done that. And so what I was talking about on Tuesday is that there are multiple ways to get your DBE certification. So in the city of New Orleans, of course, you can get it through the city of New Orleans, and you can go through NOLA.gov and you can go online. And what I learned when I went online recently, that all of the New Orleans DBE program is strictly online now. They are not taking paper applications. But the state of Louisiana is still taking paper applications. So and that is very important. And this is why I tell you that, because I like working smarter, not harder. And so if you're going to go through the process of get certified, I believe you should only do it once and get certified for the state and the city. And so there's this little like loophole. It's not really it's not a loophole, but it is a loophole. So if you get certified with the state of Louisiana through Louisiana DOTD or any of their subsidiaries, through the airport, through RTA, you can get reciprocity with the city. So if you did it with the city and then you wanted to go to the state, that would not work. But if you got it with the state, you can get reciprocity with the city. And reciprocity means that once you have your paperwork with the state, you can say, "Hey, City of New Orleans, I already have my certification. I don't need to do it again through you." So they would take your certification, the paperwork that they ask you for, run you through the program and say, "Hey, you already qualified." So you're doing the process once, and you're getting the benefit of the state certification and the local certification. That's why it's called SLDBE, state and local DBE. So I really encourage everybody who wants to get their DBE, while New Orleans would have and their subsidiaries, I know would love for you to come through there. And if that's what you're looking for, if you're only looking for something for the state of New Orleans and you're not worried about being state certified, be my guest. You can go online at NOLA.gov and you can do it online there. I will say make sure you have all of your paperwork together before you do that, because it is very important. And I'm going to go through a lot of that right now. So this is a little bit more specific, but anyone who has a small business in the city of New Orleans really needs this information. Like, you really, really do. It's the insurance policy you didn't know you needed. There's a lot of times you don't know what your business can connect to, and so having this certification really gives you a leg up. So I really kind of wanted to give you a summary of they call it the LAUCP, and that is a Louisiana Unified Certification Program. So that is the program that connects all of them. Remember, I said you can go through the state of Louisiana and get reciprocity through the state. Well, that's the difference. It's the LAUCP. That is the program through the state, whereas your SLDBE certification is through the city per se. So the certifying agencies are LADOTD, which is what I said earlier, the Louisiana Armstrong International Airport, the New Orleans RTA, and the LADOTD New Orleans DBE office. So it's the LADOTD state in New Orleans, as well as the airport and the RTA. And of course, if you are doing any concessions or wanted to do any concessions at the airport, you would need to do this as well. And so if you have a restaurant, or you have any, inkling of, maybe I would want to store at the airport, why not? That is a growth option. Just look at it, find out what the process is, and you never know how it could be something that you work toward for the future. So the DBEs are for-profit small business applying to operate, and that for this one would be an airport concession, because that's what I was speaking of. And then a business that owns and controls the concession. Well, we're speaking specifically to airport. Let me not do that. Let me go back to all of it. Sorry, y'all. I don't want to give just the airport portion, but it specifies airport because the state portion is going under DOTD, which is your transportation. So notice the two agencies that help coordinate their DBE program or LAUCP program are your transportation agencies. That is the airport and your RTA. And so that is why you'll get that information there. And so the information I'm giving you right now, you can get on dotd.la.gov. That is dotd.la.gov. And if you wanted to look at the directory of firms that, and to see if you have any competitors, that you're like, hey, if they do it, well, why can't I do it? You can go see with the competitors, and that's at LAUCP.org. And again, that is LAUCP.org. And so under this live, I will put all of this information. And I wanted to say this too. If you are an out-of-state firm and you wanted to do business in the state of Louisiana or the city of New Orleans, and you already are certified outside of the state of Louisiana, you can get a you can get a certification with the same way without having to go through the entire process. You can kind of like the same reciprocity, you'd have to fill out a different application process, but you would not have to fully go through the entire process all over again. So if you have a DBE certification from another state, you can apply for a shorter application process and get reciprocity in the state of Louisiana and city of New Orleans. So that's important information too, that you do not have to do this over and over again. And so that's really what I really wanted to let people know and encourage them, that if you want to be DBE certified, do it once rather than like multiple times. Like, don't do it in the city and then go do it in the state, because you're going to have to do it twice. My best bet is do it with the state and then get reciprocity in the city, and then you only have to do it once, because once you go through the whole application process through the state, you're just taking certain pieces of paper of information in the application and then sending it to the city, and they're basically automatically accepting you because the state already did it. You said, what's going on? We're giving information for the SLDBE certification. A lot of times you hear in the city of New Orleans, oh, they got their DBE certified or this, that, and the other. And people don't necessarily understand what that is. So I want to break down exactly what it is. And I put up the post about it 2 days ago, so it could, or Tuesday evening. I put it up Tuesday evening so you would really understand and kind of could get a little background. So long story short, what is a DBE? So a DBE is a race and gender neutral certification program. It does not presume disadvantage. Each applicant must prove eligibility. And so that's where I'm not going to say the conundrum comes in, but that's where is the difference. Most things you're thinking you're going put information forth and they're certifying you. No, you have to prove that you have a social and economic disadvantage. So, social and economic disadvantage refers to circumstances outside the applicant's control that have limited the ability to compete for contracts compared to similarly situated businesses. So, anybody who has a small business, you don't know that it could be a situation where we have a hurricane, and let's say you have a building that has a large empty space. Well, they could, or the state could pay to use your facility to house things. They maybe use your facility for supplies if they need to move logistically things in a certain neighborhood. If your business is in there, then you would have the opportunity, first come, first serve, to make sure that you have the opportunity to work with the government to distribute resources. And that's just an example, but I'm saying those things really happen during hurricane season. I know somebody, like, say you have a water company and you have water, getting certified would be a really great thing to do, especially during, before any hurricane season came up, because you don't know when they're going to call for water. Because when they do, they're not saying, oh, we need you to apply now. No, you need to already be in the system. And so I just want a lot of our businesses to be prepared for different contracting opportunities that they may not necessarily know about. And in the city of New Orleans, they strive to achieve a 35% DBE match. So that means if there is, let's say, $100,000 contract, 35% would be 35,000 would be directed to a DBE. And so, I mean, of course, it could be more than that, but they're trying to make sure that businesses in the area who are socially and economically disadvantaged, they get a leg up. And so we have a lot of businesses in this area who fit that description, and they just don't know that they can apply for the program, or, they just feel overwhelmed by the paperwork process. And so I'm going to kind of break down what it is for you, and so you can move forward with this for your business. And if you need help, let me know. I do this, and so I hadn't really thought about it in a while, but I had a couple people ask me about it on my last live. So I was like, you know what? On Thursday, I'm going to break it down. So the SLDBE certification, the eligibility requirements. To qualify, a business must meet all of the following criteria. So ownership of the business. They must be at least 51% owned by a socially and economically disadvantaged person. The business size must meet SBA small business standards. So your small business standards are going to be dependent upon the actual business, because let's say a small business that does marketing materials is going to have a different level than a construction company who's considered a small business. So that's why they're saying the business size depends on the SBA small standard size. And annual gross receipts must not exceed 23.98 million over the previous 3 fiscal years. And that's why I said that, because some people might say, oh, $24 million, that's a lot of money. They're not, small or disadvantaged. But a construction company who's making $20 million a year, who's trying to get into construction in the city, is making a lot less than, these construction companies who are making $500 million a year. So the comparison of their competitors, it's what put into context here. And so back to eligibility requirements for the SLDBE. Independence. You must operate independently and not be controlled by another firm. They want to make sure you are who you say you are, and the person who is economically disadvantaged and economically and socially disadvantaged, they are the person who are actually making the decisions and, of course, control. The disadvantaged owner must direct daily operations, control management and policies, possess technical and managerial expertise in the firm's primary business activity. So it is very important that that person is the head of the business, because if not, like, they're going to find out. That is the entire that is the entire purpose of the program. And they do site visits, so they will be coming to your job or your place of employment to see if it's working the way that you say that it's working. So, applying for your DBE certification, the Office of Supplier Diversity, in partnership with Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and the New Orleans Aviation Board, administers a state and local disadvantaged program in this area. So remember, I said you can get it from the state or you can get it from the city of New Orleans. So the city of New Orleans has partnering agencies as well as the state of Louisiana. I say go through the state, and then the state offices, the LADOTD, and then you can get reciprocity with the city. That's what I say. So you can have state and city. If you're only interested in the city, you can go through the New Orleans program. The state program still allows a physical paper, where you can go online, you download the application, you print it, and you can sit there and take your time with it. The New Orleans application is all online. All online. And you are responsible for putting your information in there. And actually, if you were going to get a contract, you're responsible for making sure all of your billing and everything is taken care of. Now, that's a little bit of extra information, but laying out. And so, again, who qualifies for the SLDBE? A business may qualify if its ability to compete has been restricted due to industry practices. So these would be things that, if your business has bumped heads with certain things that are going on in your industry and you feel like you've been left out, that could be one of the issues. Limited access to capital. I know that's a big thing for a lot of businesses. You may have a food truck and you want to move into a storefront, and you've just been having a lack of limited access to capital, and you just haven't been getting the response that you wanted. Okay, well, this is an option to be able to give you a certification that will give you a leg up. As well as, last but not least, restricted credit opportunities. And so all of these things are beyond the firm's control. So if you are a business and you've kind of been bumping your head, this might be the certification for you on the local and state level, so that you can get in the game and really just kind of start feeling it out. Because with your SLDBE certification, it's not something you have to pay for. If you wanted somebody to walk you through the process and to basically do your paperwork for you, well, then you'd have to pay somebody for that. But for you to just do a lot of the back office paperwork, it is timely. I will say that it is time consuming, but if you have your paperwork in order, it's a lot quicker. And so it's really, in my opinion, a first step for your businesses, because once you go through this certification process, you have everything in order. So if you had to go to the bank, if you had to go look for an investor, if you needed a loan, if you needed anything, you'd have all of your information together and in order. And so I really feel like this is a good opportunity and like a practice, to make sure that you had all of your information together as a business should. And so proving you're socially disadvantaged, because remember, the onus is on you to prove that you are socially and economically disadvantaged. And you can't just be one, you have to be both, socially and economically disadvantaged. So I'm going to break down both of them, and I'm doing these short form But of course, there's a lot more to it. I'm going to kind of hit certain pieces, but I'm going to hit the main things so you can understand to see if like this is something you wanted to do. So if you are getting your SLDBE certification, and that's what it's called around here in New Orleans, and so it's uh, the unified certification program. That's what you would see on your state level. And so, if you're proving social disadvantage, applicants must demonstrate at least one objective distinguishing factor under 49 CFR Part 26. And I will get to what that is after I read both of them. Personal experiences, if you've had any personal experience of substantial and chronic disadvantage, you would just have to write and prove it. And so if you're a business owner and you've been bumping your head on something and it has been a social disadvantage, you just need to explain that to them. And proof that the disadvantage negatively impacted business entry or advancement. There's so many ways to prove this. And so I'm going to go into those and break down the parts. And so that's proving social disadvantage. So we're going to switch to economic, because remember, you have to prove both. Hey, you have to prove both. You have to prove social and economic disadvantage, because if you don't have both, then they will kick you out. I'm just letting you know, because people are like, well, I did this and I'm, a female and I've been in this male driven space, and you have to have both pieces to this. So, proving economic disadvantage, applicants must also demonstrate limited access to capital and credit. And so that goes for your social disadvantage as well. So, remember that. So, it could be a two-part there, as well as reduced ability to compete in public and private markets. So, what was the economic disadvantage that reduced your ability to compete in public and private markets? And then, last but not least, a personal net worth must not exceed $1.32 million for the individual who is the DBE, who's the person who owns 51% of the business. Now you're like, 1.32 million, that's a lot of money. But that goes where you would, it might put into a home, or, something that your parents left you, or things, or the cost of the business, the business, or things like that. And remember, we said the person who has the construction company, or the person who owns the marketing firm, are going to be weighed on their figures, not on a general scale. So DBE. It's a race and gender neutral program, and the burden of proof, this is so important, y'all. Like, you just don't understand. The burden of proof is on the applicant. They are not having to go prove that these things affect you. You have to prove it. So when you send in your application and send in your paperwork, a lot of people, there just might be a paragraph for this. No, take your time and write down what the situation is, and really think about like how you've gone through your business and what has been any factors that you've run into. Again, the burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate both social and economic disadvantage. So with that being said, are you DBE certified? And if you aren't, this is the show for you. So I'm going to switch really quickly to one of the summaries that I put in here that would give you a little bit of the summary of the declaration of eligibility for the DBE. So once a firm is certified, so say you go through, actually, you know what? That's not what I want to pull up. Before we go back to if you're certified, I want to pull this up. Yes. Perfect. So, and actually, I'm going to figure out how I can put this up here, because I created a checklist and I put everything together, because I told you I have a business development firm. So I created a checklist for everything from your DBE certification, your MBE certification, and your WB certification. So I put that all together for my clients. But this is the supporting document checklist from the U.S. Department of Transportation for their DBE. So I want to give you straight from what they said, not adding the other two organizations, so that you know what you need to offer. And so this may be very specific. People are like, oh, I don't want to do all that. But if you want your certification, if you are a small business owner, like, these are just steps you need to take. And yes, it may sound boring, but I believe when you're going through this process, you really learn so much about your business, and you learn how business runs, or, just you're going to learn something you didn't know how to do, and then it's something I just feel you should like share with your family and friends or people you know who do business, because having your certification and already being in the system is like a huge leg up for a lot of people. So, supporting documents checklist. This is from the U.S. Department of Transportation. I literally got it off of their website, and so maybe I'll post it in one of the follow ups for this. I think I might do that because it's kind of hard to read if you don't pull it out. But anyway, required documents for all applicants. Resumes. So here's a great question: if you have a small business, do you have a resume on yourself? And if not, guess what? You should get one. Everybody needs a resume. If you haven't, take it out, dust it up, dust it off, and update it, because it's always something that you should have in your back pocket. If somebody says, "Oh, can you send me some information?" Update your resume. And then I'm 47 now, so resumes look a lot different from when they did when I started out. And so I've recently updated mine, and so mine is up to date as well. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. Have your resume up to date. Next would be your personal net worth statement for each socially and economically disadvantaged owner. So if you have more than one owner, you're going to need to do this for each person. So you need a personal net worth statement. Next, you would need your personal federal taxes for the past 3 years. So when you're getting your certification, you're going to need all this documentation. And so it's really important that you have it just on hand for yourself, as well as when you go to the bank or when you go out for anywhere else. It's really easy. So we're going to start with your resume, your personal net worth, your personal federal tax returns for the past 3 years, um, federal tax returns for the business for the past 5 years, or the number of years that the business has been open, if it's fewer than 5 years. So they're going to be looking up to 5 years, but if you've been, clearly if you've only been open for three, then they're going to want three. But from the owner, they want your personal taxes for the past 3 years. Documented proof of contributions used to acquire ownership for each owner. If so, it depends on how you started the business. If you acquired the business from somebody else, they're going to want to see how it was acquired, especially for the person who's saying that they own 51%. Sign loan and securities agreement and bonding forms. If you're like I said, if you're a construction company and you had to bond things out and you need bonding capacity, then you would have to send all of that information as well. List of equipment and or vehicles owned or leased, including VIN numbers, copy of titles. If you have a company and they have any vehicles, buses, trucks, anything like that, you would need all the information on each individual truck or piece of large equipment. Your titles, registration certificates, each by the USD numbers for each truck owned or operated by your firm. And so why this is important, and actually I know a couple of people who own their trucks and do trucking, because you can DBE certify your truck. And so it's important that you know that, because they may need you for hauling purposes, or you may have family who owns their own truck. So that is something that you should know as well. You can get a DBE certification if you own your own truck. You don't know what they need you to haul, but having your information in there can really put you in the ability to get some of this contracting stuff. So I'm glad that they said that specifically, because I want to make sure I told you that. License, renewals, forms, permits, and haul authority forms. Descriptions of all real estate, including office, storage space, anything that the business owns or leases by your firm. You need documentation of that. You need documented proof of any transfers of assets to and from your firm and to or from whoever the owners are for the past 2 years. So they want to know what you've been doing for 2 years, because they really want to make sure that the person who says they own it owns it. DBE and ACDBE, and that's if you're doing the ACDBE is if you're doing contracting with the airport. If you have any SB8A, these are other certifications, SDB, MBE, WBE, remember certifications, remember I just told you about those, denials and or decertifications. So if you have ever had a certification and they decertified you, they want to know why they decertified you. You also need bank authorization and signatory cards. They want to make sure that you say you own it, but you're the person who can write the checks. Schedule of salaries paid to all officers, managers, owners, any other directors. They want to know your payroll, list of all employees, job titles, and dates of employment. And they want to know exactly what each person is responsible for. proof of warehouse storage facility ownership or any lease arrangements, any lease arrangement that you have. They want to make sure that your name or the owner's name is on it. And if you have, so that is just for each applicant. Those are the required documents just for that applicant. And again, we are going through the documentation that is required if you are getting your SLDBE certification. And that is your state and local DBE. And like I said, you can get this through the city of New Orleans or you can get it through the state agencies. My 2 cents and suggestion is to get it through the state agencies because then you can just use that paperwork and get reciprocity for the city of New Orleans, and it's a lot faster. That's my 2 cents. So back to the supporting document checklist. If you have a partnership or joint venture, you're going to need the original and amended partnership or joint venture agreements. If you are a corporation or LLC, this is where I would fit. If you have an official certificate of formation and current operating shareholder agreement, you would also need your official articles of incorporation. And these are things that you can get on, if you're in the state of Louisiana, you would get that on sos.la.gov. And if you've had your business and you lost your paperwork, guess what? You can just go on sos.la.gov and you can request it and you can just pay. If you need multiple copies, you can pay for multiple copies, but do not fret. All of this information you can get from sos.la.gov, and that is the Secretary of State of Louisiana. So that would be your articles of incorporation. And then you can also see if a business is in good standing there as well on your Secretary of State site. So both sides of the corporate stock certificates, your firm, if you have a corporation, so they want to see your stock certificates, your minutes of your shareholders' meetings, company bylaws and any amendments, and evidence of signature authority on the firm's bank account. They want to make sure that if you have a business account, that you are actually the person that is going to be writing checks, because they have had false, they've had people go through this program and really take advantage of it, and they're just not having it. I mean, of course, you do have your ways that it can happen, but they are really not about it. And I'll tell you in a second how it has happened, but I will finish this first. So failure to provide any of these required documents that are applicable to your firm's application may result in denial of your application. And so these are optional documents to be provided upon request. The certifying agency to which you're applying may require the submission of the following documents. If you are requested to provide any of these documents, you must supply them with your application or at the on-site visit. Failure to do so may result in denial of your application. Proof of citizenship or lawful permanent residence. Insurance agreements for each truck owned or operational by your firm. Audited financial statements, if available. Trust agreements held by any owner claiming disadvantaged status. And suppliers, a list of product lines carried and list of distribution equipment owned and or leased. So I know that may have sounded like a lot of things that you're like, that's like too much going on, but it is what it is. And when you're getting your certification, it's not necessarily, a sexy process. It's not like a fun process, and it's not like I shouldn't have said sexy. It's not necessarily a fun process, or it's it's not something you get up and you're like, oh, I want to do it. But when you need that insurance policy, or you want to, apply for a RFP, or I don't know, whatever's going on, it's nice if you are in this situation and your business does have socio and economic disadvantages, it is better to have this because it will give you a leg up. And so we have a lot of businesses, in my opinion, not just in my opinion, I know we have a lot of businesses in the city of New Orleans who can fit this circumstance. And if you can, I believe that you should get the certification because it will just put you in a better, just a better leg up in the contracting process, I should say. It will give you a leg up where you have been disadvantaged before. So it's kind of putting you on a little bit of an equal footing because they are looking to occupy at least 35% of certain contracts. And so they are looking to DBEs to fit at least 35%. That's what they are aiming to do. And so if you can fit the need that they have, it's just a great win-win for everybody. So, really quickly, this is what we were talking about, the business eligibility factors. Remember, we talked about that 41 CFR Part 26, and I know this is very technical because it was for me when I was reading it, but it's really, really important because it is determining the certification requirements and abilities for your business. So, the business standard size. The business standard size. A firm must qualify as a small business under the SBA industry size standards. Remember, I said it depended on the nature of your business. Like if you have a marketing firm, or if you have a let's do something past marketing. If you had a catering business, the amount of funds that most catering businesses, or amount of income most catering businesses has, is much different than a HVAC company. You know what I'm saying? Because the HVAC, the supplies cost so much more. So that's where your industry standards are going to be different. And so your DBE gross receipts cap. The firm's average annual gross receipts cannot exceed the federal DBE cap. And so this may take people like, oh, but it's 30.72 million adjusted annually. And so for, businesses who are like doing construction, or, they build houses, or HVAC, or, I don't know, maybe they own restaurants, that's where you would see the larger amount there. But this is what they're really looking for when you have to determine your eligibility. They're looking for independence. The DBE firm must be independent, not dependent on another firm for personal, equipment, facilities, financing, or bonding. Because they have some companies who depend on other companies for their bonding capacity. That cannot happen with regard to your DBE firm. You must be able to finance yourself and your bonding for yourself. And here's the deal: you must not operate as a front. When I read that, I was like, I know a couple people who I'm like, are they? Anyway, you must not operate as a front, and you must have proper ownership. So the documentation: the firm must provide tax returns, corporate documents, operating agreements, stock ledgers. We went through this, but I want to be more specific to the 2683. The 49 CFR Part 26, because it specifies it in the SLDBE, as well as a unified certification program from the state. And so I wanted to make sure that I went through these specifically from the state's perspective. And so proper ownership documentation: the firm must provide tax returns, corporate documents, operating agreements, stock ledgers, etc. Actual operations, not paper companies, must be actively performing the type of work it seeks. So you can't just say, I want to go do event planning if you only do catering. Like, you need to be doing catering now. I mean, you need to be doing event planning now. They want to, they're like, are you doing what you say you're doing? Is it not just, you have ideas and you've never done it before? And so the next one is equipment ownership or control. The firm must own or legitimately lease equipment required to perform its work. And licenses and credentials: the firm must hold required state and local licenses for its trade, construction, engineering, etc. And so if you're just tuning in, what we're going over is the requirements to get your SLDBE certification on the state and local level. My suggestion is get it through the state and get reciprocity through the city of New Orleans, rather than do it twice. If you go through the city of New Orleans, then you would have to again do your process through the state. And so I'm like, do a 2-for-1 because it's a lot smarter. That's my 2 cents. That's what I share with my clients. Owner eligibility. So if you are a disadvantaged owner, remember when I said this is your social disadvantages and your economic disadvantages. I'm going to do a little bit more in depth real quickly for you. So the owner eligibility factors: the disadvantaged owners must meet all of these objective factors. So here we go. Oh, you missed it. Well, we're doing the DBE certification. So you popped in on a good part. So to get your DBE certification, you have to show, and it is on the applicant to prove that they are socially and economically disadvantaged. Like the corporation or the organization that you're applying to, they have nothing to do with this. You have to prove it, and if you don't prove it, then they're going to deny you. And so that's why I really wanted to go over these factors so you could really get it. And so I gave it to you short version earlier, but this is more in depth, and this is what I really wanted to hit. So the disadvantaged owners must meet all of these objective factors. And y'all, I got this off of the websites. What I did is I went and read them and kind of summarized them for you to make it a lot easier. So the social disadvantage must be a member of a presumed disadvantaged group, and that is Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian Pacific, Subcontinent Asian, or female. So social disadvantage. So you get it. I get it right there because I'm female. Period. And a lot of my followers would get it because they're Black. Or you must prove disadvantage individually. So the social disadvantage must be a member of a presumed disadvantaged group: Hispanic, Black, Native American, Asian Pacific, Subcontinent Asian, or female. Or prove disadvantage individually. So as you can see, that's why I say the social disadvantage. A lot of people that you may know or in the city of New Orleans may fit one of those factors already. So I already have the female. So if there's a woman who owns a business 51%, she's working in New Orleans, this may be a great thing for her. Number 2, personal net worth limit. The owner's personal net worth must not exceed the federal DBE cap. So adjusted annually, that's basically $2 million. It's a little bit more than that, but their personal net worth for this, and they're saying it was adjusted annually, is $2.047 million. And number 3, so number 1, they have to be a presumed disadvantaged group. Number 2, their net worth can't be more than $2 million. I'm just rounding. Number 3, their ownership must at least be 51%. We know that from earlier, but we're going to drive it home. Disadvantaged individuals must own at least 51% of the firm. Ownership must be real, substantial, and continuing, not nominal. Like, you cannot go sign up for this and fake the funk. Let me give you an example. You've had, I know this to be true because I was, I'm not going into people's business, but working in this industry, I've seen it. And so I'll just put it that way, where you had, people who owned a business, a family who owned a business, and then, it magically went from the husband's name to the wife's name, and then they were like, she runs the business, and she clearly does not run the business because the husband runs the business. And so they were trying to weasel around and get the DBE certification, through the wife owning the business, when she did not run the business, nor did she know how the business ran. So once they asked her questions and things of that nature, they could tell that she was not running the business. So the ownership of the business must be real, substantial, and continuing, not nominal. You must 100% be doing it, whatever the business is. So the sub factors within ownership, that's capital contributions must be real and verifiable. No promises, no loans from DBE partners unless documented. Stock ownership must include control, voting stock, meeting participation. Marital assets. Remember, I told y'all that before about how people would be married and say they're, it's the woman owning it and it's not. Marital assets used to acquire the business must be proven to be controlled by the disadvantaged owner. Next is control of the firm, the day-to-day and the long term. The disadvantaged owner must control management, policy, and operations. So the sub-factors within control. Technical competence, must understand the business sufficiently to run it. So remember when I said you had the husband had like faked the funk and said that the wife owned it? No, they're literally going to test you and kind of like ask you basic questions that you should know if you're actually running the business. But they're looking for technical competence, authority over hiring and firing, authority over contracts, authority over financial decisions, authority over equipment decisions, must not rely on a non-disadvantaged individual for critical expertise, meaning you are the ones making all the critical decisions. You cannot have outside employment that prevents active daily management, and control of the board of directors. The disadvantaged person must have it. And last but not least, they must be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident of the United States of America. And that is required for disadvantaged owners. And so last but not least, these are required administrative and documentation factors. Remember, I told you if any of these, they are looking, I'm just being honest, they nitpick a lot of this stuff and they're looking for ways to deny you. So you have to be really aggressive in making sure you deliver the information so that there's no question about it. Like, I do this, and this. And so that's why I really, before you just apply for it, my biggest thing is like take your time and go through each set of data points that are asking you to give to them and make sure that they're on point so they don't have any questions. So, documentation factors. These are objective requirements that determine whether a firm can complete the certification process. So, if you're just jumping in, we're talking about you're getting your SLDBE certification. So these are objective requirements that determine whether a firm can complete the certification process. Signed, notarized application. That is the uniform certification application. Remember, I said the uniform certification application is through the state of Louisiana, through your LADOTD and through their subsidiaries, through the airport and through the RTA. And you must have it signed and notarized, the application. The application through the state is still paper. The application through the city is all online. So you must have 3 years of personal and business tax returns. And remember, I said the uniform certification application is a little bit different from your SLDBE. So remember, on your SLDBE, you needed 5 years. This is saying you need 3 years of personal and business tax returns for each of them. Personal financial statement. You need your corporate LLC organizational documents. You need your resumes of all owners. So if you do not have your resume together, that's just something that, I really believe everybody should kind of keep up to date. And I had not always been good at it, all these years of life, but it's something I could keep up with now. And even for your children, help them start their resumes. And so it's something that they can kind of like keep up with as they develop. And if y'all have any questions for me, please type it and I'll answer any questions. I do resonant questions. And I just want to make sure that y'all have all of this information because, I kind of grew up in this. Like I said, I had parents who had small business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And so getting your certifications and your DBE and just kind of understanding the processes was something, I just believe, if you have the information, you should share it. And so I was talking about it in the last show and I had a lot of people comments. I was like, you know what, that's what we're going to do. We're going to give people the information for their DBE. So again, I'm going to start at the one, a signed and notarized application of your uniform certification application. And you can find that application on dotd.la.gov, dotd.la.gov. You're going to need 3 years of personal and business tax returns, a personal financial statement, corporate LLC organizational documents, resumes of all owners, equipment lists, equipment list, lease agreements, proof of all licenses, work history for the business, and on-site review results. And so again, you will have someone who comes to visit you on site wherever you say that the business is operating. And so these are all procedural, but they're very important factors that govern the basis for certification. So that was a quick run through right there. And it really is important, especially now, to have any little extra thing that will give your business a leg up. If you are a small business and you are looking for new avenues, new funding sources, my son always like, you should have 10. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's get 10. And so, we need 10 funding sources or opportunities that will be there, contracting opportunities. And so while the city of New Orleans is clearly going through a situation, it's always a plus to be in their system, to receive their emails, to know what's going on. And if there's anything that would connect with your NAICS codes, and that's NAICS, those codes are the codes that when you register your business with the federal government, you get a NAICS code. And that NAICS code basically describes what a group of businesses do. So I may be a consultant. I'm just going to say that. And then they have a code for consultants. So all the consultants would be under that code. I'm just giving you an example. And so you would need to know your NAICS code. And so giving, y'all lost my, no, giving all of your information and knowing these things in pieces just puts you at a better level for success. And so we want to make sure that you are in the systems. If consulting comes up, or if catering comes up, or if I don't know, there's so many things that you don't even realize that the state or the city pays for, or outsources, I should say, that you just want to have the opportunity to have it. And if you have a business that has anything that maybe the city or state could use during disaster, any disaster resources, I think it's a great time to make sure that you get in the system. So again, like I said, if your NAICS code is in there, anytime that anything has to do with your business, or the type of business that you do, they would automatically send you an email. So at that point, you're not even looking for contracts anymore. They're sending stuff to you. So they may have an RFP, or like, say you're a painter, I don't know, and they want to do graffiti removal in the city of New Orleans. If you're not in the system, you're not going to get the email for the contract to do, graffiti removal, where it could be something like a quick thing for you. You and maybe four guys can go out there and take care of this for, 3 months, and then eliminate this thing for the city. You never know what it is, but I want to just give you those ideas to let you know that they do have opportunities on multiple different levels. And so if you're not in the game to receive the information, you just never know what's happening. And so I just believe a lot of us are don't know what's happening in certain situations. And so when we can get better information, we can just have more opportunities for our families, because I truly believe that what's going to bring New Orleans back is small businesses. Like I said, I come from a small business family. I don't believe that a lot of attention has been given to our small businesses. Actually, it's crazy, because, not to get off of this, but I was reading today that they had an article in NOLA.com about the French Quarter restaurants and businesses who've been doing so poorly this year, starting out with the terrorist attack. And actually, I did a summary of it. So it was a 2025 opener on a somber note in New Orleans. A terrorist attack on Bourbon Street in the early hours of January 1st cast a shadow over what is normally a lively holiday stretch in the French Quarter. By February, the city was back in the national spotlight as Super Bowl showcased the French Quarter at its best. But local businesses benefited from the influx of visitors, and the city enjoyed a quiet hurricane season, often offering a moment of relief. Well, yes, we had a lot of visitors in the city for the Super Bowl, but if you ask a lot of our small businesses, they'll say that a lot of the visitors were really confined to private events. And so, if you were able to, have your certification, and you were, connected to these organizations, and guess what these organizations look for, y'all? They look for your DBE certification. So I'm just trying to put you on game that when you have these large events that come to the city of New Orleans, they're going to the city, and they're also as well asking for their list of DBE certified vendors. So if you did not know that, that is, a little game that they do look at that as well. So when large companies or events come to the city of New Orleans, and they want to look at vendors, that you think they're going out looking, saying, oh, we want this, unless they have like a referral from somebody that is just like next level, like, oh no, I want that business. What they're doing is they're going to the city of New Orleans, and they're saying, who are your best vendors in this? Or they will say, give me your DBE certification list. Give me all of your vendors who are certified for, I don't know, transportation, let's say vehicles, limos, transportation services. So if you have a transportation service, you should be DBE, and you fit the DBE qualifications, you should get DBE certified, because when Essence comes in town, they're going to ask, hey, City of New Orleans, let me see your list of transportation services. Why? Because they're not going one behind people unless they just have, created a relationship, which by now they probably have. But think about all the people that come in. They will always need someone new. Or Bayou Classic. We just had Bayou Classic. When their vendors, their large vendors, come in, who do they need? They look at these same lists. So if you're on these lists, it gives you a much better opportunity. So if you know of yourself or a business who is looking to grow into just another aspect. Now, this is not something that's going to give you money tomorrow. It could be something that give you money next year. And so, by the end of next year, you're in a different situation. We don't know, but it is an opportunity to grow your business and to have another form of income and another opportunity for contracting that you just never even knew existed. And so having this insurance is really important, because you never know. You might get that phone call one day from a corporation who came in and say, oh, I got your business information off the DBE list, because they really do pass this list out. It's important. And so with that, going back to my French Quarter conversation, we know the construction that's going on in the French Quarter, so the chaos behind that, as well as we know that there's an immigration crackdown right now, and the struggling restaurants. That's really what I wanted to get back to. The construction zones have really cut off the walkways in this French Quarter to just be able to get to certain restaurants. The seasonal traffic has normally been strong, but it is not, and so they're saying that it is a critical holiday season in the French Quarter, and they need our help. And I'm like, we need help too in the city of New Orleans. So my suggestion is for all of the small businesses to really get all of the certifications that they can, connect and uh, network as much as they can. That'll also be something I'm looking at. I'm looking at all kind of stuff, like, Lord, what you want to do with me? But small businesses are near and dear to my heart, and so I worked in I worked with the MBE certification, doing outreach from 2010 to 2012. So what are we in 2025? It's been a long time since I've been kind of delving into this, and it's something that just never ends. Honestly, our businesses don't have enough information. We are under educated in that area, and I kind of believe they like it that way. And so this conversation started because we were talking on Tuesday about the Economic Development and Special Projects Committee for the City of New Orleans, and how since 2018, 40% of the meetings had been canceled. And so, certain people pay attention to certain things and care about certain things. And like, well, why do you care about it so much? And I said, because, I'm a small business junkie. I've been in that field, in that area for years. And when I don't see our small businesses getting the support that they deserve, at least in my opinion, I'm going to speak up and say something about it. And so I feel like we have been lacking in that area for at least the past 8 years, and honestly before that. But I can only, pay attention to the time frame that I know about it. And we need a lot more outreach in these areas. We need like go in our neighborhoods, teach the DBE certification, walk people's hands through it. It is not necessarily an easy process. If you do not have your paperwork together, it can be time consuming. And a lot of people just be like, oh, I don't want to feel like I want to do it anymore. But when I tell you, it is celebratory at the end of it, because the opportunities that you have just grow exponentially, and things that you may not have even thought. And so, how having insurance is really helpful, and especially if you didn't have it and you're like, oh, I didn't have it, or what, like, let's say flood insurance. And then, you've always had, rain and hail and all that, but you've never had flooding. And then that's the one time it floods and you didn't have flood insurance. You're like, oh my gosh. Well, it's kind of like that with your DBE certification. It's kind of one of those things that, when the Super Bowls comes in town, when the large events comes in towns, they look for businesses that are DBE certified to make sure that they have percentages they need too. And so do our large corporations. Remember, I said that you can get your MBE certification or your WBE certification. Now, those two certifications you would need to pay for. The certification through the state and through the city are free, but the certifications through these private organizations are not free. I believe it's like, when I was doing it, it was like $300 for your application. I don't know what it is now. I should probably look it up for y'all. But my point is, once you did this, if you wanted to move into doing contracting with corporations, let me give you an example. If you wanted to do catering for Entergy, well, the Entergy, when they go out and they have their events and they're looking for a caterer, they're going to look for a caterer who's MBE certified. Why? Because they have to use a certain percent of their funds uh, to stay in, for lack of a better word, good graces with the federal government, because that was their agreement that they were going to use so much percentage for, minority businesses. And like I said, minority isn't just black, it's not just Hispanic, it's not Asian, it can be any of those things. Anyone who is a minority in the United States of America, as well as your WBE, and that is your women-owned businesses. So that is your differences between your certifications. So you have your WBE, your women-owned businesses, your MBE, that is your minority-owned businesses, and that is an array of minorities. It's not just one; it's a group. Whatever color you are on the brown scale, you're in there probably. And then you have your state and local DBE, and that is through the city of New Orleans. And then you have your unified certification program, and that is through the state of Louisiana. So, as I said at the beginning, and I know that was a lot of information, you're like, but it is what it is. And if you are interested in this type of information, you're like, yes, this is what I needed. So, I'm going to make sure that I give you these. I want to make sure I give you these websites before I go. Did anybody have any questions about what I said? Because I know it was a lot of information. But of course, like I said, I did put up a post, and I'm going to put a follow-up post as well, because I gave a lot of information with regard to how to get your DBE. Oh, but you know what? I did want to say this as well. When you're getting your DBE, after you get it, it's not just like a one-time thing. It's a recertification process every year. So just like if you got your occupational license in the city of New Orleans, and if you didn't know about that, I posted that. That's a couple days back. You can scroll through that too, how to get your occupational license in the city of New Orleans. I want to make sure everybody has their licenses. So when we go out to, do all these things, nobody bothers you. You got all your paperwork in order. But just like your occupational license ends every December 31st. So you have to renew it every December 31st. But your DBE certification is on your anniversary date. So whatever that date is for you, like if you registered your business with the Secretary of State, whatever the day is that you registered, that's the day that you have to renew every year. Okay, well, it's the same thing with your certifications. So that's just kind of gets you back on track for our businesses, because I want you to start thinking about this, especially as you go into, it's a holiday season. Some people slow down in the business. Well, I believe since the businesses are slow right now, for those that are those type of businesses, while you're at work, you're like, oh, I don't have that much to do. Get your back office in order. Be like every day, because like I said, that list I gave you was a long list. But if you do one of those things every day, it's not cumbersome. So in a 30-day period, by the end of the month, you would have your entire packet completed by getting one thing every day. And so it didn't feel cumbersome. And so that's how I try to work with my clients, unless I just, go to their office and kind of do it for them literally. But I like to walk them through the process, because it is an education, because a lot of times things have changed, or numbers have changed, and you really just need to make sure that they're all together, because you could get your state and local DBE. You can get on the state level as well as the city level. And then you could go get and if you have a woman owned business, you could get it on the state and local level. You can get your MBE. Well, let's say you're a Black woman like me. You could get your DB, your state and local, and then you could get your MBE, and you could get your WBE all at the same time for less than $1,000. And that's probably with both of their application process, the MBE and the WBE. Because remember, I said the state and local, those are free to apply. But through the private organizations, where if you wanted to do business with Exxon, if you wanted to do business with Shell, if you wanted to do business with the Entergy in New Orleans, if you wanted to do business, and a lot of times people don't even realize that they can do business with these corporations or how to do business with them, but you can as a small business, and they are looking for you. One that I found that they like to, that, they do a lot of connection points with is, gift basking. You wouldn't even necessarily think about that, but people who do gifts, who may just be, not ordinary, but kind of niche gifts. That's also a good way to get yourself in there. If you have a niche gift business, or someone who does, that's something that corporations really do look for, because what they give out gifts. They give out gifts to large, to their upper management. They may give it out for having been there 10 years, or they may give it out as gifts to other people when they're courting them, or holiday gifts. You don't know what it may be. But my point is, these are businesses that you don't necessarily think would be a good connection point. And they're like, I can't do that. But yes, your business actually can do business with Energy, or do business with Shell, or do business with some of these larger companies here. But a lot of them are looking for businesses that do business with these certifications. So, and if you have these certifications, it just kind of puts their guard down and gets you one foot in the door before others, gives you a leg up. And so I encourage people to get their DBE certifications. And again, through the state of Louisiana, you can go on dotd.la.gov. And through the city of New Orleans, you can go on nola.gov. That is nola.gov. And so that's kind of a summary of that. Is there any questions? Anybody have any questions for me about the DBE certification? I know it's a lot and it's very specific information, but when you need it, you want somebody to break it down for you, and you want to make sure you have the right information. And so again, the certifying agencies through the state, again, my 2 cents is, if you're going to do it, get a 2-for-1. And my thing is to get certified through the state of Louisiana and get your reciprocity through the city of New Orleans. And reciprocity means that once you go through the process through the state of Louisiana, you can the city of New Orleans will basically accept their application. And so you don't have to do the whole process over in the city of New Orleans. So that is my 2 cents. If you only want to do business in the city of New Orleans and you're not worried about the state, of course, you can always just go online at nola.gov and do it there. The city of New Orleans, again, is all online. The state of Louisiana does offer a paper application. And so you could download the paper application and take your time and do it. If you did need help, or if somebody was looking to hire me to help you go through the process, I'd be willing to do that. I haven't done them in a while, and it's crazy because I looked up all of that paperwork, and I was like, oh, it was fun when I was doing that, helping people. And I really do enjoy helping businesses get certified, and just knowing the other opportunities that they had never even thought possible. And I'm like, you have so many options, it's just, you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And so when we can open it up to different levels of information sources, then I just think we can be a stronger community, because a lot of these networking events and things like that are like during the day, and a lot of people are at work, and so they wouldn't be able to get this information, that way. So I just wanted to deliver some DBE certification information to help any small business that was looking to go that route, because I 100% encourage it. Like I said, it's just an insurance policy that would help, as well as it will send you emails and notifications of things that you may not have even thought of. So if you're slow in this time of the year, I say take your time, get your back office in order, get your resumes, update them. These are things you don't necessarily think about till you need them. And so I just feel like, it's going to be a big year for a lot of people. And so get these things in your back pocket, and so that we can be a stronger New Orleans, because that's really what it's going to take right now. If y'all have been looking around, they're acting like all of this is being inherited to the next administration. That's their word that they're using. I'm like, inherited? How can it be inherited if you were there for it? And so while our mayor-elect was not on the executive side, she was on the legislative side for the past 8 years. And so it's just, and while, like I've worked with her. And so that's what I'm saying, I like her as a person. But I do not believe, in my opinion, I believe we needed a native to run the city of New Orleans. And I believe we needed somebody who was going to pay attention to our economic development and our small businesses. It wasn't just about some, who's the most popular. And I believe New Orleans does that. And we find ourselves in a pit sometimes. So you can like somebody and just not believe that they are the correct fit for the time that we're in. And so I do want New Orleans to be successful. And I do believe that part of that is to make our, part of that is to make our small businesses more strengthened. And so if I can do that with any one of you, if I can help you with your DBE certification, please let me know. I can, if you want the checklist, please DM me. I can send the checklist to you. Actually, I'm gonna post it in my stories, but if anybody wants the checklist, I will send it to you directly, and it's straight off the department um, of Transportation's website off of dotd.la.gov. I'll send it to you so you don't have to go find it, but all the information is there. But I just wanted to put it at your fingertips because I believe it's important. When we take care of one another, we can be a stronger New Orleans. So with that, thank you all for joining Faith in Politics with me today. I know today's show was a little bit different. It was straight and direct and like to the facts of getting your DBE certification, but it's really I just believe it's important. And so, again, if you are interested in my book, you can get it on Amazon, Faith in Politics. It looks just like this. And you can also purchase it from me. If you want to purchase it from me, it is $15. I think I still have a couple left. So if you want to get it from me, you can purchase it. It's $15. You can cash app Faith in Politics. Faith in Politics. It's purple just like this. Send $15 and send me your name, like in the little or your name and your handle, and then I will follow up with you, and then we'll connect and make sure that you get the book. And so that is this. And of course, you can also order in bulk. I had a couple people request information on that. So if you want to get with me and you want to order this for an organization, let me know. We can buy it in bulk. And then you can do that and find these you can find my past episodes you can listen anytime at Apple, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Podbean, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, and Boomplay. But today was all about our small businesses. It was giving y'all a little love and a little direct knowledge on our DBE certification. And so I encourage each and every one of you to get certified, get certified, get certified, get certified. And again, before we leave, what is a DBE? The SLDBE program is a race and gender neutral certification program. It does not presume disadvantage. Each applicant must prove eligibility. Social and economic disadvantage refers to circumstances out of an applicant's control and have limited the ability to compete for contracts compared to similarly situated businesses. Like I said, in the city of New Orleans, the percentage of DBE that they try to aspire to is 35%. So we want to make sure that you get in there because we know when our small businesses are strong, our economy is strong, and honestly, those are our small businesses. When that gets back to our like youth organizations and our neighborhoods and things like that. So we can do it together in New Orleans. We can be stronger together, and we can make this happen for each and every one of you. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you next time. But of course, you can always catch up on Faith in Politics today.podbean.com. That is faithinpoliticstoday.podbean.com. That is the website, and that is in all of our posts. So thanks so much to TikTok, to Instagram, to YouTube. Hey, YouTube. And of course, to Podbean and everyone who is listening live. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you on Tuesday at 6 p.m. We are here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Faith in Politics, New Orleans. I'm out, y'all.